Imagine a nurse in a loose white shawl climbing a narrow stair in a walled Pakistani compound with a styrofoam cooler full of vaccine vials that were never really about disease. The children she's told to reach are invisible behind a heavy metal gate. The man the world has hunted for a decade may be within shouting distance. She knocks. A guard hesitates. Somewhere in a safe house, a CIA case officer is waiting to learn whether a syringe can solve what satellites, drones, billions of dollars, and 2 wars have not. Is Osama bin Laden living in this quiet garrison town an hour's drive from Islamabad? To understand why American intelligence would gamble global public health trust on a door-to-door vaccination drive, rewind to a blue September morning in 2001 when 4 hijacked airliners turned into weapons and a Saudi exile hiding in Afghan mountains became public enemy number 1. Within weeks, the US toppled the Taliban, cornered al-Qaeda fighters in the caves of Tora Bora, and then he slipped the net. For years, the hunt scattered across continents. Interrogations in black sites, signals intercepts, reward posters in bazaars, a drone war expanding in the tribal belt. Washington built a new architecture of surveillance, but the target learned to breathe in its blind spots. He stopped using phones. He traveled only by trusted couriers. He vanished into human terrain. Family, loyalty, silence. By the late 2000s, the search had narrowed to a single, maddening thread. A man known in intelligence cables by his kunya, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. A courier whose voice had surfaced in interrogations and whose movements, when they could be glimpsed at all, sketched faint contrails toward Pakistan. Tracking a ghost meant building a mosaic from scraps, a number that pinged once on a captured handset, a nickname tortured out of a detainee who might lie or misremember, a courier's brother bragging in a marketplace. Analysts lived inside link charts. Each node got weighted, color-coded, fought over. Across screens in Langley, a pattern emerged. If you found the courier and followed him to where he went dark, maybe you would find the boss who never left a trace. Summer 2010. Surveillance teams clock a white Suzuki and then a larger Toyota weaving through the hill roads north of Islamabad toward a city most Americans had never heard of. Abbottabad, Colonel's Town, Retiree Town, Pakistan's West Point on the edge of the Himalayas. There, tucked behind 12-foot walls topped with barbed wire, stands an oddly overbuilt compound on a scrubby plot. No phone lines, no internet. Windows shielded, trash burned instead of set out for collection. 2 security gates, a 3rd-floor balcony screen, privacy facing inward, not outward. Kids seen in the courtyard, but never at local schools. Who needs that much privacy in a sleepy cantonment ringed by military checkpoints? The CIA sets up a safe house, rents another, builds a scale model, flies drones in lazy racetracks overhead, and runs a pattern-of-life study so granular that analysts joke they know when the chickens are fed. Still missing the face. Bin Laden hasn't shown himself on video in years, except in edited tapes. If he is here, he is careful. He walks under an awning called the Pacer route, never giving satellites a direct shot. Intelligence confidence climbs, but stalls around 60, maybe 70%, depending on who's in the meeting. The president wants better. America has invaded 2 countries over this man, kicking in a door in the heart of Pakistan, and being wrong could crater alliances and hand extremists the propaganda coup of the century. They need a biological fingerprint. Here is where the story slides from spy movie into bioethics case study. US intelligence had something rare: genetic material from a known bin Laden relative, reportedly a half-sister who died in Boston years earlier. If agents could obtain DNA from children believed to be living in the Abbottabad compound, they might run kinship matches. A match wouldn't just say, "This is Osama." It could quietly upgrade the probability column in a PowerPoint that decides whether seals fly. But how do you ask a hostile sovereign government that leaks like a sieve to help you swab the household you suspect is harboring the target they officially deny protecting? You don't. You improvise. Dr. Shakil Afridi was, at the time, a provincial surgeon heading health programs in Pakistan's rugged northwest. He understood vaccination campaigns, the logistics of cold chains, the informal social power of local lady health workers who could cross thresholds where strangers could not. Somewhere along the chain, accounts vary as they do in covert work, CIA officers approached him. Could he run a hepatitis B immunization drive in Abbottabad? Funding, supplies, and cover would be provided. The program would begin in poorer neighborhoods to build legitimacy and then edge toward the suspicious compound. His reward: money, status, perhaps the quiet backing of the world's most powerful intelligence service. His risk: everything else. Door-to-door vaccination is theater as much as medicine. Health workers register households, mark doors, coax crying toddlers, record batch numbers. In the blur of syringes, a nurse can capture a drop of blood, a cheek swab, the trace material needed for DNA. That was the theory. In practice, Abbottabad is a gossip lattice. Strangers are noticed. Repeated visits draw attention. Reports later suggested the campaign administered real vaccine doses at first, both to maintain appearances and because faking too much would blow the op. Cold boxes came. Logs were kept. But when the team neared the high walls of the suspected hideout, things got weird. Some sources say a nurse was waved away before she could reach any child inside. Others say access was granted to part of the compound used by another family, yielding samples, but not definitively from bin Laden's children. Still others argue the DNA never reached US labs at all. In intelligence, truth is a probability table. What mattered in Langley was less the lab result, if any, than the psychological nudge. Field teams were inside the neighborhood, had mapped service lines, had eyes on gates, and had tested whether someone inside would open the door to a health visitor. Even a refusal told analysts something. The household behaved differently from its neighbors. Vaccine campaigns usually welcome free medicine. With every anomaly, the confidence bar ticked upward. Parallel streams, signals from the courier network, overhead imagery, human reporting, converged. By early spring 2011, the debate in Washington shifted from "Is he there?" to "What do we do about it?" The menu on the Situation Room table was grim. Option 1: bomb the compound into rubble. Fast, deniable, minimal risk to US personnel. But if bin Laden wasn't there, you killed civilians and lost the chance to prove it. Option 2: joint raid with Pakistan. Politically tidy if trust existed, it didn't. Too high a chance the target would be tipped and vanish. Option 3: a unilateral helicopter assault by Naval Special Warfare Development Group, DevGru, better known as SEAL Team 6. High risk, high payoff. Requires flying undetected 160 kilometers into sovereign airspace, landing in a walled courtyard, fighting through multiple structures, identifying the target in real time, and exfiltrating before Pakistani jets scramble. President Obama asks for a confidence number. CIA Director Leon Panetta gives the range. Not certain, never certain, but compelling. The vaccination gambit is one tile in that mosaic. May 1st, 2011, Washington time. In Jalalabad, two specially modified Blackhawks warm on the pad, rotors ghosted by new stealth shrouds. 24 operators in desert camo, night vision flipped up. Board. Call signs. Razor 1 and Razor 2. A backup Chinook team stages forward in case everything goes sideways, because it always might. Crossing into Pakistan, they skim ridgelines low enough to rattle windows. Pakistani radar plots noise but shrugs. Choppers near the border are common. At roughly 1 a.m., Abbottabad time, the birds drop into a hover over the target compound. Hot, thin air plus higher than expected walls plus aerodynamic quirks in the courtyard cause Razor 1 to lose lift. The pilot flares, tail strikes. The helicopter rolls into a controlled crash, nose in the dirt, rotor snapping. Training takes over. SEALs pour out unhurt, blow the cockpit with thermite to deny tech, fan through breaches cut with shape charges. A dog, Cairo, waits with handlers to run perimeter. Inside, it's doors, stairwells, confusion. Men, women, and children pulled aside, zip-tied, separated. A courier is killed, then another. One woman lunges, she's shot in the leg. On the third floor, a tall, thin man in a tan shalwar kameez pokes his head out. Operators fire. Geronimo, the ground force commander radios, code for Bin Laden. Seconds stretch. The message relays up the chain. Geronimo EKIA, enemy killed in action. In the White House, eyes lock on speaker boxes. The president exhales, but the mission isn't done. They need the body. Operators photograph the face, run rapid facial metrics, bag the remains, scoop up computers, hard drives, thumbsticks, notebooks, a digital goldmine. In under 40 minutes, they're loading out. Charges detonate. The crippled Black Hawk is destroyed. Everyone piles into the remaining aircraft and the waiting Chinook. Pakistani F-16s scramble too late. By sunrise, the most wanted fugitive of the post-9/11 era is aboard the USS Carl Vinson in the North Arabian Sea, washed, wrapped, prayed over in Arabic, and buried at sea. DNA run against known bin Laden family samples confirms the kill. The mosaic held. And then the second act, blowback. Pakistan's military and intelligence leaders, humiliated that a U.S. assault force landed undetected beside their premier military academy, hunt for cooperators. Within weeks, Dr. Shakil Afridi is arrested. First accused of treason for aiding the CIA, then formally tried, not for the vaccination scheme but on charges linked, officially, to aiding a militant group in a separate case. He becomes a geopolitical bargaining chip. U.S. lawmakers freeze aid, demand his release, hold hearings. Pakistani courts reduce, reinstate, shuffle sentences. Years pass. Afridi remains imprisoned, moved, retried, invoked, whenever U.S.-Pakistan relations sour. For the doctor who lent his public health program to a spy service, the cost is measured in decades. The broader cost is harder to quantify, but maybe larger. Trust. Vaccination workers in Pakistan and neighboring countries had long struggled against rumor. Western plots, sterilization myths, religious edicts. After the Bin Laden raid, extremist groups point to the CIA's ruse as proof that immunization campaigns are espionage fronts. Polio workers are shot in the street. Teams travel with armed guards. Some stop going altogether. Eradication timetables slip. Health officials beg intelligence agencies worldwide, never again. In 2014, the White House publicly directs the CIA to stop using vaccination programs as operational cover. The directive is quiet acknowledgement that a tactical win, one of the biggest in modern counterterrorism, carried strategic consequences that will echo through childhood disease stats for years. Meanwhile, analysts comb the Abbottabad hard drives and handwritten journals. Bin Laden had been there for half a decade, maybe longer, writing memos like a remote CEO, which affiliates could use the Al-Qaeda brand, how to spin global events, how to manage ransom policy. He worried about drone strikes, urged followers not to gather in large groups, fretted about image. He watched television. He trimmed his beard black for videos. He lived within walking distance of Pakistan's military academy and gardened behind high walls while the world imagined caves. The compound's burn pit, its lack of digital exhaust, its odd layout, all the anomalies the vaccination team observed, had been signals after all. Historians still argue how much the fake vaccination drive actually contributed. Some say its intelligence yield was negligible. By the time Afridi knocked, the operation was already a go. Others contend even failed attempts matter. Behavior under approach, names logged on clinic rosters, who intervened at the gate. Tiny data points that sharpen probability curves in rooms where presidents decide. In covert work, causation is murky. History gets written from fragments. What's clear is that a public health tactic crossed into espionage, and that crossing helped set the stage, directly or atmospherically, for the raid that ended the decade-long hunt. If you enjoyed this documentary, please consider subscribing.